No one saw him.
What?
Only his agents, including one claiming to be John Safer. Was it him?
No one who was here knew him well enough to identify. All of them was Frank. Though the identity was in question, the message they left behind was clear. They claimed Flint will be returning tomorrow. East of the base, take on recruits. Well, Flint is alive. If he arrives on that beach, you're going to be finding 200 men waiting there. You're going to be finding 10 men there. Image of any men leaving this place to join him would answer the street. Our station men on the beach did just no. I'll never see it myself. And if Flint doesn't appear, what does that suggest? That I too am so weak as to fear a ghost? No, I prefer there be no one there to meet him because no one wants to be there to meet him. You won't see that.
Yes. Max may be able to help matters, but she won't be able to stop all of them going down there.
I don't imagine she can.
There may be a way that you can prevent the rest of them. Without looking like we're trying to prevent anything. You have all become quite scared at acquiring information. But the time has come for things to flow in the opposite direction. Instead of coaxing information out of men's heads, I need for this place to be able to put ideas into them. If tomorrow 100 men appear on the beach intending to join Captain Flint's crew, it will be a problem for the governor. And it will be a problem for me. Every turn you see tonight must hear how pathetic you see Captain Flint's blowing. How absurd it seems to you that any man given a choice to prosper in peace in a new Nassau would ever even consider returning to the dangers and deprivations of the account. If you have any questions as to how to proceed, I have appointed a new madame more than capable of guiding you through it. Good evening, girls. It's nice to be home. Well, let's get back to work, shall we? Open it up. Thank you, my dear. For trusting me with a task so important to Nassau's welfare. Trust you? Quite right. Perhaps we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. But at any event, I will see you spread properly through the night. Good. If I may, ma'am. You seem troubled. I remember watching Miss Guthrie go through this experience. What experience is that? Learning to bear the weight of her authority. And the awful and lonely compromises it demands. Would you like to know the advice I gave her then? In such an office, anyone who tends to your needs is going to ask for more in return than they give. But if you do not have these needs met, you will never survive the experience. Best to make sure that whoever you choose to have tend to you, all you owe them is a fear. Georgia?
Barrels of powder, half as much in shots, and 4 dozen muskets.
My father's ally said this was the most they could secure without arousing attention.
Would it be enough? Well, it's more than we had yesterday. Sort of puts us ahead in some regard.
judgment. He helps them away with their shame. So what do we do? Hamilton. I didn't know it, but I understand you did. Miss Guthrie tells me you were part of the first effort, with Lord Hamilton and Peter Ash to introduce the pardon to Nassau. As with most things, the men first into the breach bear the heaviest casualties. In the hindsight of victory, they were the ones whose sacrifice made it possible. Without Lord Hamilton's efforts, your efforts, likely I would have been successful in my efforts to finally secure the pardon. All I have done here is finish what you began. I am now what you were then. But without you, there would be no me. Clever. Thank you.
So that's what this is. We're all reasonable men, we all want the same thing. You offer me a pardon, I accept it, this all ends? Maybe.
Pardons are on the table. No one is being hanged. No one's even being tried. All been forgiven. Just as you want. Just as Thomas Hamilton would want. So what is it that you're fighting for that I'm not already offering?
Thomas Hamilton fought to introduce the pardons. To make a point. To see to change England. And he was killed for it. His wife and I went to Charlestown to argue for the pardons. To make peace with England. And she was killed for it. England has shown herself to be gnarled, grey, and spiteful of anyone who would find happiness under her rule. I'm through seeking anything from England, except her departure from my island.
It was England's island first. I don't imagine she's going to let it go easily.
I don't imagine she would.
I see. So there we are then.
There we are then.
What a story you'll have to spin to your men to turn me into the kind of villain worth losing their lives over.
I'll live on the other side of their stories. I'm sure we'll figure something out.
I'm sure you will. And let us be very clear about something. I am reasonable in seeking peace. But if you insist upon making me your villain, I'll play a part. So let us assume that as of this moment, the unqualified pardon is no more. From this moment on, any man participating in the act of high seas piracy will be presumed to be one of your men, an enemy of the state. I will hunt you. I will catch you. And I will hang you. And while I am aware of your feelings on the subject, I am no backwater magistrate, cowering in fear of you.
for Jack's release. If they'd been willing to do that, we wouldn't be in this mess in the first place. Did you learn when the exchange is taking place?
Thanks for the sub, Lex. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. E50.
think, Manotel, a thief?
I make no judgments. I'm certainly not prejudiced.
My good doctor, I think you are not in a position to judge.
Should there be another explanation? Believe me, I'd be more than happy to hear it. Perhaps a gentleman.
There is no gentleman friend. Not as a good girl.
Get worse. And because states, unlike the federal government, can't borrow to cover a deficit, for the most part, they have to have a balanced budget for operating budgets. Without some federal aid, I think we're going to see some serious layoffs in the state and local sector in the months to come.
But in understanding why that's a tough argument sometimes to make politically, people hear the word government and maybe they're not so sympathetic to people who work in the government. But, I mean, remind us who these are firefighters, these are police officers,
Right.
These are other folks, who are essential to the functioning of our society.
Exactly. They run the prisons. In many cases, they run the hospitals. Their local education is a huge employer. So that we will get less service from our local government if they have to cut back. And I don't think people really want that. They just don't see the connection yet between what's going on in Washington and how it's going to affect them directly.
I'm asking you all this, David, because, there does seem to be this disconnect. We read about long lines for food banks, people who need help, who are really hurting. And then you see the paralysis in the Congress, and people are asking, why isn't there a connection?
Well, I think it tells us that there's a certain dysfunction in our political system where partisan politicians seem to be more worried about positioning themselves for Election Day and what follows beyond than doing what's needed. There are some people, some Republicans who have suddenly discovered that they're worried about deficits, and that's led them to, particularly in the Senate, to say that they don't want to do this. But I think one of the things you have to keep in mind is that there's a lot of talk about this being a K-shaped economy, which means that some people are doing okay. People who make more than $60,000 a year, those jobs are almost completely back from the worst of the spring. People who make less than $28,000, their jobs have not come back. Many more of those jobs have evaporated. And at the moment, there seems to be, I think some people are complacent. The CARES Act provided a lot of juice to the economy. It made the recession a lot less worse than it was. And people are not quite seeing that. We're like Wile E. Coyote running off the cliff. The bottom's about to fall out unless we get some more help.
Well, so important to try to understand what is underneath all this. And David Wessel, we thank you, as always, for joining us.
I'm Stephanie Sy with NewsHour West. We'll return to Judy Woodruff in the full program after the latest headlines. The CDC issued a stronger recommendation for both passengers and employees to wear face masks on planes, trains, and buses, and it comes as infections are surging again. All told, the U.S. has recorded 8.2 million confirmed infections and 220,000 deaths. The U.S. Justice Department today formally sued Google for allegedly abusing its power in online search and advertisements. The lawsuit claims the search giant has effectively created a monopoly that harms competition and consumers. Google called the suit deeply flawed. We'll have a full report after the news summary. Election Day is now exactly 2 weeks away, and President Trump is back on the road tonight, this time in Pennsylvania. Earlier, the president warned again that a win by Democrat Joe Biden would be a victory for the left wing.
The American dream, the great American dream, versus being a socialist hellhole. They're going to turn us into a socialist nation. We're going to be no different than Venezuela. And I'll tell you what, it can happen.
On the Democratic side, former Vice President Biden continued his preparation for Thursday's final presidential debate. His running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, addressed a virtual event on early voting in Wisconsin. She rejected the president's warnings and argued the Democratic agenda is mainstream.
We will invest in people who need help with health care and better schools and child care. We will protect Social Security and Medicare. These are the things that we will do. Because we understand if we want to build up America's economy, we have to build up working people.
The U.S. and Russia are closer to extending their last major nuclear arms control agreement by 1 year. Moscow said today it will accept a mutual freeze on the number of nuclear warheads that could keep the so-called New START agreement alive instead of letting it expire in February. The U.S. State Department welcomed the news. We'll look at this later in the program. A deadly boat fire in Southern California last year is being blamed on the vessel's owner. The National Transportation Safety Board ruled that Truth Aquatics, Inc. failed to operate the Conception dive boat safely by not having a roving night watchman. The Coast Guard also received criticism for inadequate regulations that contributed to the high death toll. 34 people were killed. And a NASA spacecraft, OSIRIS-REx, successfully touched down on an asteroid 200 million miles from Earth tonight. As this animation shows, the goal was to grab a material sample from asteroid Bennu and return it to Earth by 2023. A Japanese spacecraft is already headed back to Earth with samples from another asteroid. Still to come on the NewsHour with Judy Woodruff. Going after Google, the Justice Department brings a major antitrust lawsuit against the tech giant. The U.S. and Russia near an agreement to extend a major nuclear arms control agreement. Concerns remain over the security of American votes as Election Day approaches, plus much more.
This is the PBS NewsHour from WETA Studios in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.
The antitrust lawsuit brought against Google by the U.S. Justice Department today marks the most significant challenge to a big tech company in this country in decades. The federal government says that the tech giant is abusing its power to block competition. Amna Navaz fills in the details and looks at the prospects ahead.
That's right, Judy. The Justice Department alleges that Google uses its enormous advertising profits to pay phone manufacturers to make sure that Google is the default search engine on your phone. This pattern, prosecutors say, has helped Google capture almost 90% of the search engine market in the United States. Now, 11 state attorneys general, all Republican, joined the federal lawsuit, but Google, which has a market value of more than $1 trillion, says it's not using anti-competitive practices. To unpack all of this, I'm joined by Dipayan Ghosh. He heads the Digital Platforms and Democracy Project at the Harvard Kennedy School. He also used to work at Facebook, leading their efforts to address privacy and security issues there. Dipayan Ghosh, welcome back to the NewsHour. Let's talk about what the Justice Department is alleging. They say Google is so dominant, it abuses that dominance, and it's stifling competition. Here's a line from the lawsuit. They say, in sum, Google deprives rivals of the quality, reach, and financial position necessary to mount any meaningful competition to Google's long-standing monopolies. By foreclosing competition from rivals, they say Google is harming consumers and advertisers. Dipayan, how strong an argument is that when it comes to an antitrust case?
I think it's really difficult to say right now, but I think the Justice Department does have a case here, as do many other regulators around the world. It's not a bad thing to have a monopoly. It is a bad thing, though, to use illegal means to gain that monopoly status, get into that market position, or to maintain your position as a monopoly using illegal means. And those illegal means are anti-competitive measures. Anti-competitive measures in this case and other cases could mean kind of shutting off the opportunity for would-be rivals to compete with you. And I think that the Justice Department does have a case here in suggesting that Google has shut off that opportunity, that channel for competition for would-be rivals by engaging in these commercial agreements with phone manufacturers, with telecommunications firms, to make sure that Google is the preferred search engine through all these channels.
Well, let me ask you about what Google says in response, because they argue our services are free. We don't force anyone to use them. We don't stop them from using other services. They issued a statement in response and said this lawsuit would do nothing to help consumers. To the contrary, it would artificially prop up lower quality search alternatives, raise phone prices, make it harder for people to get the search services that they want to use. In response to that lawsuit, Tapayan, what do you make of that defense from Google?
Well, from Google's perspective, this is a totally expected line of argument that, hey, you know, we're Google. We have the most innovative engineers. We were the first major search engine on the market in the sense that we became most popular through our innovation. We developed the PageRank algorithm. We hired all these tremendous computer scientists to develop our product, and this has happened over the course of the past 2 decades, not just over the past 5 years, in the maintenance of this monopoly, as the Justice Department has suggested. And to that point, Google might try to point to the fact that it doesn't actually charge its consumers any monetary price, and yet I think what the Justice Department would say to them, and rightly so, is that, well, you do charge a price. It just doesn't come in the form of money. It comes in the form of people's data and attention. And when you have a monopoly and you collect so much of that data and attention at an potentially exploitative rate, it actually affects the rest of society culturally, politically, and economically.
Well, Tapayan, let me ask you about the timing, because there's some questions around this. A quick scroll through President Trump's Twitter feed shows he's long had Google in its sights. There was some reporting that this was really pushed through before some prosecutors wanted to move forward with it. And there's a number of attorneys general who decided not to join the lawsuit. Is there any concern here that there's political motivation behind this lawsuit?
I think we have to acknowledge that possibility exists. As you just mentioned, the timing of this is highly suspect. We're 2 weeks away from the biggest election in the country, of course, in the world. We are just moments from hearing about what's gonna happen in our national political discourse. And Donald Trump and the Justice Department may well really wish to be able to point to their to the possibility of their holding tech's feet to the fire, particularly given Trump himself has implied that big tech has engaged in anti-conservative bias and suppression of conservative voices, and especially, as you mentioned, given the states and the political, the politicians in those states that are kind of joining the Justice Department in pushing this, it does seem quite politically motivated along these themes of anti-conservative bias.
A lot of questions around that, and of course, not the first time that big tech has come under scrutiny. That is Cod Goat from Harvard's Kennedy School joining us tonight. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
The U.S. and Russia say they are close to a major agreement on arms control. The world's largest nuclear powers are discussing extending the last remaining nuclear treaty, currently scheduled to expire in February, and freezing the total number of nuclear warheads. Nick Shipman reports.
Today is an important milestone for nuclear security and non-proliferation.
10 years ago, the U.S. and Russia signed the New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or New START, which caps the number of U.S. and Russian warheads deployed on long-range systems, intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and heavy bombers. And it includes verification measures such as movement notifications and on-site inspections. Today, Russia released a statement agreeing to a one-year extension, and separately to, quote, assume a political obligation to cap the total number of nuclear warheads as the U.S. has requested. but Russia has not publicly agreed to U.S. demands for additional verification. Joining me now is Marshall Billingsley, Special Presidential Envoy for Arms Control and the lead U.S. negotiator. Marshall Billingsley, welcome back to the NewsHour. Bottom line, do you have an agreement on a one-year New START extension and a one-year cap on all nuclear warheads?
We don't have an agreement yet, but certainly, given the fact that Russia has moved in the direction of the United States proposal for this cap, it looks like the two sides are getting much, much closer together. And I would say we're very, very close to a deal.
The Russian statement today does move closer to where you have been, but it also suggests they will not agree on additional verification that you have said is required to enforce a new warhead cap. So what is that additional verification you're asking for, and has Russia agreed to it?
Well, so that's one of the areas that we're going to need to really sit down and work together to finalize. Russia has said that they will not agree to additional add-on measures, but I would simply say that verification is not an add-on when it comes to arms control. It's an intrinsic part, a fundamental part of any arms control deal, always has been. So of course, there's going to have to be effective verification associated with this warhead freeze, this warhead cap. And we'll work with the Russians to make sure it's a mutually agreeable solution, but that is something that we're certainly looking for and intend to have.
To verify the cap, the aspects of that, as you know, have to include a stockpile declaration, you have to have additional monitoring, you have to have an agreement on what warhead is, what you're actually counting. It doesn't seem like you have any of that yet. So why do you think the Russians will agree to this when you have actually accused them of cheating in previous agreements?
Well, we've documented numerous Russian violations of nearly every arms control agreement they have with us and with the world, which is precisely why verification is going to be so important. But let me also say that verification historically has been something that the Russians also have wanted. And the idea of verification is actually in the materials that the Russians have proposed to us.
So we have seen previous agreements that have had verification for missiles, of course, and that's existed for decades now. But we're talking about verification on warheads, which are much smaller. Is that something that you believe Russia is willing to do, to allow the U.S. to inspect to the point where you can find warheads, which some experts I'm talking to can be quite difficult to actually see?
Well, they can. That's historically been one of the big challenges associated with this kind of approach. And we do believe, and I firmly believe, based on working with our experts at the Department of Energy and the National Weapons Laboratories, that a mix of technology and procedural solutions are available, probably best applied outside the production complexes to make sure that we're not producing an excessive number of warheads compared to those that come in for dismantlement.
Would you agree to extend the separate New START treaty by itself?
Well, the National Security Advisors made crystal clear that that is a non-starter, but here's why. The New START treaty constrains 92% of the entire U.S. arsenal of our deterrent. It only covers 45% or less of the Russian arsenal. And the Russians are building up in all of these capabilities, these missiles and these theater-range, short-range nuclear weapons that are focused at NATO. And, of course, the New START treaty does nothing and covers not a single Chinese warhead.
There's only 2 weeks from Election Day, and Vice President Biden has made it clear that if he wins, he would extend New START for 5 years without any kind of warhead cap. Is that reducing your leverage?
No, not in the least. First of all, the president, by signaling his intention to pursue this historic approach, and with the Russians now agreeing in principle, that now sets the floor for future arms control discussions. So the Biden camp would have to rethink their entire approach were they to take office. But they're also going to need to be exposed to the kinds of information that we have, particularly the alarming intelligence we have regarding the secretive Chinese nuclear buildup.
When you began these negotiations, you've mentioned China a couple times. You demanded that China sign on to a multilateral agreement, and you also demanded a significant increase of verification before extending New START. Have you failed to achieve some of your initial goals?
No. Well, first of all, we've been consistent and very clear all along that the next treaty must be trilateral. It must include the Chinese. By the way, the Russians have said exactly the same thing, or very close to the same thing. The Russians have said the next treaty must be multilateral. And of course, they would also include the British and French in their formulation. So we've been consistent on that front. We're not talking about a treaty at this stage. What we're talking about is a political agreement that we would then, over the coming year, move to translate into that treaty. And by that point, we will expect the Chinese to be a participant in that process.
Marshal Billingsley, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Good to be with you.
It is 2 weeks out from Election Day, and the rules around voting in certain states are still being contested, including a split decision yesterday from the U.S. Supreme Court. William Brangham has more on the story.
That's right, Judy. Yesterday, in a 4-4 split, the Supreme Court of the United States couldn't agree whether to allow Pennsylvania, which is a major swing state, whether they should be blocked from counting mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day, as long as those ballots were postmarked by Election Day or earlier. For more on this decision and other looming cases, I'm joined now by Nate Persily of Stanford University Law School. He's the co-founder of the Healthy Elections Project, which tracks coronavirus-related election litigation, and he joins me now. Nate, very good to have you on the NewsHour. Let's talk initially about this Pennsylvania ruling. The Democrats in Pennsylvania said because of the pandemic, we want to give a 3-day grace period. So if a voter mails in their ballot, we should count that as legit if it's postmarked before Election Day, even if it gets here a little bit late. Republicans said no. The Supreme Court couldn't decide, so that the Democrats' position stands. What do you make of this ruling?
Well, it is quite extraordinary that we have not only a decision this close to the election, but a 4-4 decision from the U.S. Supreme Court in a high-profile election case. So it does raise the stakes for the current controversy and confirmation process over Amy Coney Barrett. But the decision itself, as you said, leaves in place what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, which is that because of the right to vote in the Pennsylvania Constitution, they thought it proper to allow late arriving absentee ballots to count for the presidential and other elections.
So as a signal, both to Pennsylvania voters, they now know they have this extra couple of days, is this also to be seen as a signal to other states that are also currently fighting over extensions of deadlines and all manner of election-related matters?
What this is a signal to the state Supreme Courts in other states, because what was at issue was the claim that the Republicans had made that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, by sort of unilaterally extending the deadline, was in a sense behaving like the legislature, and that violated the U.S. Constitution. And the Supreme Court said, well, it gave a mixed signal, but 4 justices said that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision should probably be overruled. 4 said we're going to let it stand, and as a result of that tie, they let it stand. And so other state Supreme Courts, other state courts that are considering other similar kinds of changes to the election laws in their states now have a signal from the Supreme Court that at least so long as there are 8 justices, that those decisions may stand.
This, as you were saying before, obviously shines a brighter light on the impending arrival of Justice Coney Barrett. Is it just assumed that she will side with the conservatives in cases like this? What do we know about her jurisprudence about voting matters?
I don't think we know for sure which way she would side, but generally she considers herself a textualist or an originalist, looking at the words in the Constitution very strictly. And so the provision in the Constitution which is at issue in this case is whether, as Article 2, Section 1 says, each state shall determine in such manner as the legislature thereof shall determine. And so the idea is, does the state legislature have kind of special power that even a state Supreme Court possibly can't modify? And so that is what the more conservative justices on the court believe, and perhaps she would be in their camp.
If the election count is drawn out, does that worry you? I mean, we've heard the president say that if he's not declared the winner on election night, that is de facto evidence that there is fraud in this process. Do you worry about sort of drawing out this process of counting all these ballots in Pennsylvania and elsewhere?
We need to understand that no election has been completely finalized on election night. We have always had millions of ballots that have been outstanding. What makes this election different is that we could have as many as 50% of the ballots that are being cast by mail. That could be 75 to 80 million ballots that will be cast by mail. And so we may have to wait a little bit longer, but it's better to get the result right than to get it done fast. You are right, however, that the more that we are in limbo, the more concern that people will have that, some candidate may declare premature victory, or that there will be allegations of fraud or misdeeds in the absentee balloting process. So that's, in a very thin-skinned political environment in which we're living right now, that's the concern, is that there'll be a lot of conflict over those absentee ballots if it goes into overtime.
So talk to the voters who are out there. We know millions of people have already voted. Many people are sitting on mail-in ballots that are in their house debating, fill this out, mail it in, go vote early, go vote in person. If people are seeing these cases and these ongoing fights in a lot of different states, what would you counsel them to do to guarantee the safety of that their vote gets counted?
Vote as soon as you can. I think that's the message everybody should be sending right now, which is that don't wait until Election Day. If you're going to vote in person, if you can vote in person early, please do so. If you're going to vote by mail, make sure you send it in immediately, so that you are not victim to, say, difficulties with the Postal Service in delivering your ballot. Also, in some states, you can track your ballot. So there's ballot tracking software that states have made available to see whether your vote has been received. And then if there are mistakes in your ballot, if you live in one of those states where it gives you an opportunity to correct those mistakes, make sure to avail yourself of that. But the key thing is to read the instructions on the ballot and to mail it in early.
Nate Persily at Stanford University Law School, thank you very much, and great to have you. We look forward to talking with you more as this election progresses.
Thanks very much.
When outbreaks of COVID-19 at meat processing plants in the U.S. slowed production, American wholesalers turned to foreign beef suppliers. Beef exporters in the small country of Nicaragua were happy to fill that gap, actually ramping up production amid the pandemic. But this has come at a high cost for indigenous communities who are being run off their land to make way for cattle ranches. A warning to viewers, this story contains some upsetting images of violence. Nate Halverson of Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting is our guide.
That classic American meal, the hamburger, is increasingly arriving on ships. Imports of frozen beef are up nearly 20% since the coronavirus pandemic began slowing U.S. meat production. And one country has led that surge of imported beef.
Visita Nicaragua.
Nicaragua, that small Central American country, has become the third largest supplier of frozen beef to the United States. Its imports have reached an all-time high during the pandemic, doubling in just 4 years, according to U.S. import records I reviewed. But how this little country, the size of Mississippi, exports all that beef comes with a cost.
The supply chain of beef from Nicaragua is anything but clean.
Aurora Mittal runs a nonprofit, the Oakland Institute, that investigates land thefts around the world. In a socially distanced interview, she described how she went to Nicaragua after hearing that cattle ranchers are stealing land from indigenous communities.
When you got there, what did you find?
The indigenous populations are not just losing their lands, they're losing their livelihoods, they're losing their lives.
In January, a group of armed cattle ranchers attacked an indigenous community in Nicaragua, burning homes and killing 4 men. An indigenous leader shared these cell phone images that capture the destruction and the funerals in their community.
People are dying from violent land invasions, their lands taken away for cattle ranching, cattle which then turns into beef which comes into the United States. Yes, people are being killed.
The indigenous communities own these lands under a landmark international court ruling 19 years ago. Yet, a recent United Nations report reveals that despite the law, indigenous people are increasingly losing their lands and their lives to cattle ranchers.
So this violence is escalating.
Lonnie Cunningham is a leader in the indigenous community. I asked her about the cattle invasions.
That is going to cause us an ethnocide, and as indigenous people, we are going to disappear.
As beef exports have increased in the U.S., so have attacks on these small indigenous communities, resulting in whole villages being decimated and abandoned.
In this year, he has more than 10 people in less than 7 months murder already. The settlers then shot with a gun 1 girl at 14 years.
Why would somebody do that to her?
To create fear.
Is it safe for you?
No, it's not safe for me. I have suffered death threat. I have suffered intimidation, harassment. But I have to continue this battle because my people is suffering.
The Nicaraguan government is legally obligated to protect the indigenous people from land invasions. But Cunningham and others say that instead, President Daniel Ortega's government is cutting ribbons for new slaughterhouses, which buy cattle raised on the stolen lands and sell the beef to their biggest customer, the United States. The Nicaraguan ambassador, who I spoke to multiple times on the phone, declined to sit down for an interview or address the deadly attacks by cattle ranchers. But Senator Mike Rounds, who's been looking into imported beef, told me in a socially distanced interview that most Americans don't even realize they're eating Nicaraguan beef.
American consumers don't have any inkling as to where their beef comes from today.
That's because U.S. beef importers are no longer required to disclose where their meat comes from after a change in U.S. regulations 4 years ago.
That's right. The chances are very good that it can contain product from other countries when all that happened was it was brought here to the United States, and if they slice it up here, they can put a product of the USA sticker on it.
Senator Rounds wants all beef to carry country of origin labeling again, and in October introduced the U.S. Beef Integrity Act.
If it comes from a country where you believe that there are human rights violations, if it comes from a country where you don't trust that the quality is being assured, then I think the consumer should have the ability to say, wait a minute, I don't want to buy that.
Dozens of companies import beef from Nicaragua. Thomas Foods is one of the largest, importing beef from some of the same slaughterhouses that Lottie Cunningham said are buying cattle from the ranchers attacking her community. Thomas Foods sells its imported grass-fed and organic beef nationwide to Walmart, Safeway, Target, even Yale University. On its website, it claims to track production, quote, every step of the way, literally from the farm to the table. But in Nicaragua, that's not true. Like other importers of Nicaraguan beef, it buys from the slaughterhouses, not directly from the farmers, and has no way of ensuring where in Nicaragua that beef comes from.
Well, here at Thomas Foods, the CEO, Michael Forrest, has not returned my phone calls or my emails, but I thought I'd give him one last try to see if we could sit down and hear about Nicaraguan beef imports. Yeah, Michael, it's Nate Helgerston with Reveal and the PBS NewsHour.
Michael Forrest never called back, but I talked to company security guards who helped track down a different executive.
I'm John Cassidy. I'm the Chief Financial Officer.
I explained to John Cassidy what I've read in public reports, the murder and violence, and how the Nicaraguan slaughterhouses were sourcing beef from these stolen lands.
If we were to find out that there was something that you just explained going on, that would definitely impact our purchasing decisions.
Who within your company's job is it to make sure that that's not happening in the beef
I think
industry?
that falls to all of us as executives.
So if Thomas Foods knew that within Nicaragua the beef was being sourced from these regions where the indigenous people, the brown people, the black people are being murdered, and their land taken from them, you guys will stop buying from Nicaragua?
Yeah, so we're not out to exploit anyone.
Thomas Foods emailed me a statement a few days later saying they will continue to import from Nicaragua because their partners have an agreement that commits to zero agricultural activity in protected areas. I asked for a copy of that agreement, but Thomas Foods declined, saying they would have no further comment.
If they're saying that there's actually actions being taken, they're lying.
Camilo de Castro Belli, a veteran Nicaraguan journalist, said the indigenous communities and the cattle companies did discuss an agreement, but it fell apart.
There's no agreement. Cattle industry has been basically worried about their bottom line, and they haven't taken any concrete action.
De Castro recently filmed these cattle being raised on the same indigenous lands that Thomas Foods said that agreement was supposed to protect. De Castro said U.S. retailers need to take a closer look at their supply chains.
They are being complicit with a system that is hurting people, which is killing people.
I reached out to Walmart, Safeway, and Target. Safeway's parent company said they bought beef from Thomas Foods this year because of the meat shortages.
Walmart declined to comment, and Target denied selling beef from Nicaragua. But when I sent details about Thomas Foods' import records, the retailer declined further comment. I asked Lottie Cunningham what she would have Americans do about Nicaraguan beef.
Please don't buy. That's the way they could contribute with us.
But American consumers can't make that choice until they know where the beef comes from. And so for now, the cattle ranches in Nicaragua are expanding, and the killings continue. For PBS NewsHour and Reveal, I'm Nate Holferson.
Four of America's first 5 presidents were born and raised within a 60-mile radius in the state of Virginia. Those men, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe, and their at times complicated relationships are the focus of Lynn Cheney's new book, The Virginia Dynasty. I spoke recently to the former second lady, and she started by explaining why she chose to profile these men.
I wrote a book about Madison, and I was interested in how his interrelationships with the other 3 Virginians shaped his ideas, he helped shape theirs, and in the course of the early Republic Revolution, these men did amazing things. They, of course, established a republic. They proclaimed independence. They doubled the size of the nation. They made America a continental nation. And so these are stories I think we're ignoring now, and I hope that I can help bring them back to the fore.
And as you point out, they grew up in a 60-mile radius of in the state of Virginia.
Exactly. It's quite an astonishing thing to see that much greatness emerge from a small backwater, which is essentially what Virginia was in the eyes of the world.
You make them come to life by writing about not only their great talent, what they accomplished, but also writing about their weaknesses and the disagreements that they had. How, despite all that, did they get done what they got done?
You know, it's interesting that by being together, of course, they sharpened one another's wits. They brought one another to higher ideas. But their quarrels were also very productive, and I think that's a way of sharpening wits too. One of their quarrels, the quarrels of between 3 of them and Washington, led to a complete war with Washington, which I think people don't often realize. Washington died a pretty lonely man, admired by millions, but with few friends. But out of that break came political parties. The idea that a loyal opposition was a good thing, that presidents shouldn't reign unhindered after they're elected.
There's so much interesting here to explore. Part of it, of course, is the contradictions, and you write about this. They owned slaves, and yet they believed in equality. They believed in liberty. I was reading at one point, you said Virginia back in 1790 had a population of 516,000 freed people, but it had another 300,000 enslaved people. How were they able to both justify what they believed in and then what they were doing in being slave owners?
Well, they lived in contradiction, and they were fully aware of that. They believed that slavery, that holding slaves was immoral. Jefferson called it a sin against God. But they could never find a way to achieve the complete emancipation that justice required. At the same time, they also lived in this place where a new nation was being created, and they lived in a time when the Enlightenment made clear that people could improve their lot, and they could improve the lots of others. Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Washington were all committed to the idea of building a nation on the basis of Enlightenment ideas. Liberty, justice, freedom. These were the ideas they used to build, even though in their own lives they contradicted that by holding people in bondage. one point I want to make is that the ideals that they envisaged and the ideals on which the country was based have been praised by some pretty interesting people who saw them as mighty weapons against slavery. You know, Abraham Lincoln, who really didn't have much truck with Jefferson, praised him for putting the idea of freedom at the center of the Declaration because, he said, freedom will keep us from ever falling backward into a non-free state. But these ideas were very powerful, the most powerful weapons against slavery one can imagine.
Finally, Lynn Cheney, the growing number of questions out there on the part of many Americans about when we're going to know the results of the election for a number of reasons, the presidential election this year. You and your husband, Vice President Dick Cheney, lived through the 2000 election, the vote recount settled by the Supreme Court. What words do you have for Americans today who are wondering whether the results are going to be accepted, whether either side might challenge the results? What would you say?
Well, it's not the first time that the electoral process has frightened Americans, nor the first time that they thought about it. I immediately think of the election of 1800, which was tied between Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson. And before it was settled, there was talk of people arming themselves in Maryland and Pennsylvania. We came through that. I am sure we'll come through this, but we should always be vigilant to guard our liberty and our republic.
And so, to Americans, you're saying because of what you saw in 2000 and earlier.
Well, the country has come through. That doesn't mean it will always come true, but it does mean that we should be maybe a little less panic-stricken than we are. Though I don't mean to suggest at all that we shouldn't be vigilant. It's kind of a mixed message, Judy, not a simple one.
Not a simple one for sure. Lynn Cheney, thank you so much. The book is The Virginia Dynasty, 4 Presidents and the Creation of the American Nation. Thank you. Thank you.
Judy, thank you. A pleasure.
And later tonight on PBS, the premiere of Outline's Whose Vote Counts. Teaming up with USA Today and Columbia Journalism Investigations, New Yorker writer Jelani Cobb reports on allegations of voter disenfranchisement and how the pandemic could impact turnout in the fall election. That is, Whose Vote Counts. It's later tonight. And before we go, we wanted to let you know about an important conversation online tonight, hosted by Anna Navaz, Teens, COVID, and Coping. Our student reporting labs teamed up with Well-Beings. It's a public media reporting initiative to explore how the pandemic, quarantine, and remote learning are affecting adolescent mental health. Here's a preview.
I mean, I've always struggled with my mental health, but it's been more prominent than ever. Having to combine the negative thoughts that clutter this space with the stress from classes is just the perfect mix for a disaster, if I'm being honest.
I feel like I'm trapped within my own mind. No one can hear me. I feel like no one knows who I am. I don't like this feeling.
Freshman year is something that's always given me anxiety, so not having a social life honestly isn't that horrible for a more introverted person such as myself.
School and my home life is basically one and the same, so I really miss that, when you used to, school just ends and then boom, you can come back home, chillax.
While I'm trying to stay optimistic, I'm still anxious about what will happen next. I plan to go to school a few days a week for a hybrid learning situation, but things change so fast that I honestly don't know what will happen.
You never really realize how long a day is until you go back to school again and you're wearing a face mask and you can barely talk to anyone and it's just you and your brain and it's pretty rough.
I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I do suffer with mental health issues. Someone listening and having that love, support, and encouragement is appreciated, and I think that's what I want or sort of need right now.
Such an important conversation. Tune in and join the conversation. It's 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Visit wellbeings.org.
And that is the News Hour for tonight. I'm Judy Woodruff. Join us online and again here tomorrow. For all of us at PBS News Hour, thank you. Please stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Major funding for the PBS News Hour has been provided by...
When the world gets complicated, a lot goes through your mind. With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor can tailor advice and recommendations to your life. That's Fidelity Wealth Management.
Consumer Cellular, Johnson & Johnson, BNSF Railway, Financial Services Firm Raymond James, Carnegie Corporation of New York, supporting innovations in education, democratic engagement, and the advancement of international peace and security at carnegie.org. And with the ongoing support of these institutions. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. This is PBS News Hour West. From WETA Studios in Washington and from our bureau at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.
You're watching PBS.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North America and all the ships at sea. Let's go to press.
When he wrote, when he spoke, Walter Winchell held America's attention. Winchell's influence is still there because we all love gossip.
Special language meant getting divorced.
And when he blended in news and politics, he truly established the power of gossip.
Oh, that's another big one for me.
Tune in for Walter Winchell on American Masters.
Tonight at 9 on PBS 6.
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots.
Is America headed for a constitutional crisis?
Repeat the thesis. I said, what country are we in?
Giovanni Cobb investigates the early warnings.
There's a dispute over which votes might count. Republicans control some really key levers of power.
And allegations of voter suppression.
We're setting the ground rules for how votes are going to be cast and counted come November.
Tonight at 10 on PBS 6.
So when I think of voting, I think of the story of the little girl and the starfish. And what that story is that there's this beach where millions of starfish have washed up on shore as a storm that it came through. And an old man sees a little girl and she's, getting up and trying to save these starfish. She's throwing the starfish back into the ocean. And he's thinking in his head, he's like, what is she doing? There's millions of starfish. She's not going to be able to make any difference whatsoever. And he went up to her and said, little girl, there's millions of starfish out here. You're not going to be able to do much, make much of an impact here. And she sat there and she looked and thought about it. And then she replied and said, to that starfish, it makes all the difference in the world. I'm Isaac Figueroa, and please let your voice be heard this November.
This is a special God, chosen for life in the wild. But preparing a captive-born panda to roam free isn't easy. Little is known about wild panda life.
An asteroid that could wipe out a city.
The damage created by that would be absolutely enormous.
Can a daring mission help safeguard our future?
OSIRIS-REx is going down to the surface of asteroid eventually.
What secrets of our solar system could it reveal?
Oh my gosh, those big boulders were just not what we were expecting to find.
Scientists are discovering unusual approaches to saving the planet. By uncovering the complex connections between all living things and understanding the role that every creature plays.
Tomorrow night, beginning at 8 on PBS 6.
I'm Henry Louis Bates Jr. Welcome to Finding Your Roots. In this episode, we'll meet actor Taya Leone and radio host Joe Madison.
competition. We're all in this for our own reasons. You want your partner back, he wants victory, I want to set my home right. But we must hold the line and stand together. We must. There's simply no alternative. So rider approaching. Is it further south, man? It is. Here it comes. Consider that your share of the company. I suspect I'll be leaving shortly. Don't despair, son. The poor bastard will take my place soon enough. I wish I could assure you that he will be as generous as I with his scraps. Either way, we mustn't settle for whatever refuse fights its way into this cell. There's a whole world out there that every so often wants ambition. Mark my words. Stay the crumbs. Tomorrow they'll live. Perhaps someday they'll damn laundry. You're welcome. Exchange the cash for my release. Yes. This does not seem like a release. Spain has demanded I deliver you along with the cash. I'm told that once you and the cash arrive in Havana, my debt to Spain will be repaid. I do not appreciate having terms altered after the fact in this way, but in this moment I am simply in no position to refuse them. I see. Perhaps you were right, that in a place like this there is no progress without awful sacrifice. Make ready to depart. Yes, sir. It's any consolation. No harm was done to your partner. She left the transaction unscathed. Ready, man. Let's go. So she's alive.
not clear, and the alliance cannot hold, all will be lost. So yes, I am concerned.
Yes. Last night was not an experience I have to repeat anytime soon. But my mind is clear. So I can speak with you. Alone, please. What the fuck happened? They killed Parker.
The story about what happened last night has been retold as many times as there are men on this ship. You expressed your concern to me that to truly partner with your captain, you will need to join him down a dark path. And that you feared it might lead you to a place you will not be able to return from.
You're concerned about me.
The alliance between your crew and my people is critical. Without it, we are all nowhere. If your mind is not clear, and the alliance cannot hold, all will be lost. So yes, I am concerned.
Yes. Last night was not an experience I hope to repeat anytime soon. But my mind is clear. So I can speak with you. Alone, please. What the fuck happened? They killed Parker. They killed Lewis. They killed Graves. They killed Simon. They chose them from among us to be tortured and killed. And that man was the one doing the choosing.
This is your hiding from. Excuse me. I only meant, I know you must be very busy, what with your responsibilities. To still be here so late in the morning, I assume there's something you're avoiding. For what it's worth, I believe the man who chose me for him exciting you. I have no notions about what you once were. No motive to gossip. Georgia. Yes. I know the games. I have played them all. If you ever wish to be in my bed again, that is the last one you will ever play with me. Yes. his way as we speak to the transport and her mum. It's Jack. Yes. The governor is seeing to it personally that the transport sets sail with his cargo. Within a matter of hours, the Spanish issue will be closed and we will be free to move forward. And then, the men said she was angered. When she realized that Jack wasn't there, she let the cash go. And was unharmed. Unharmed? Yes, I advised the governor to send 8 men to the exchange to deter any attempt on her part. When did she realize? I'm sorry.
The Jack was not there. When did Anne realize that she had been lied to? Was it before or after they secured the cash?
Before, I think. Why?
When you told me this was to be, I was upset by the thought of having lied to Anne. I was devastated by the certainty it would unavoidably lead to her death. For the moment she realized that Jack was not there, that she had been crossed, and that she would likely never see him again, she would attempt to kill anyone she deemed responsible. 8. You could have sent 1,000 men, it would not have deterred her. And now you are saying to me that she knew she had been crossed and chose to walk away to save herself?
You speak Spanish? Habla español. A little. You are little. I'm in Havana in a day or two, as you might be hearing a lot of. Shouted by literal women in a crowd. Crowded by angry officials. Seems a rotten thing to wish upon anyone. I'm flattering eulogy in an unfamiliar tongue. It'll be quick. Whatever extended such mining is. Gold is theirs. The gems are theirs. They don't need anything from them anymore, and as such, likely to want to put the entire affair behind them. Move on. I'm sorry. If. Wait. You said if I'm in Havana. In your mind, this outcome is still in doubt. Well, odds are certainly in its favor, but it is by no means a certainty. How so, exactly? Said Anne is alive, did you not? I would argue as long as that is true, there is little chance, however remote, that she would frustrate your efforts to send me off to my death. Out of curiosity, how would she go about doing it? I have no idea. If you had anything in her power, I imagine object could be walking out in the middle of the road ahead of us, to be run over by your horses and let her slowly be down here in the road.
Hey there.
How's it going? What's it doing? Tried to stop by the store. Looks better in here. Looks like Drew's doing his part.
Yeah. Well,
Wow,
Drew,
he's clean.
Drew's
good, man.
Majority of it.
It looks.
He's been a hell around here.
You know what I mean?
Once you start, you just keep going and going.
No shit, man.
He's a good cook.
And he's cooking too?
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, he's a good cook.
Cool.
Oh,
That's what's up, man. Help each other out, right?
Yep.
In these times, you know? Shit.
Oh.
I couldn't find any honey over there. I guess I was in the import aisle and I found honey.
That's what she was. That's what you over there. She's texting her Mike. Look, I can't say it out loud.
Right.
Because he's gonna know. Give me some honey. I would be sitting here talking shit. Turn over, he just got that jar just tipped up like it's Hennessy in that
Shit,
motherfucker.
I know. He takes it like it's candy honey.
I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh man, I'm addicted. I'm like, okay.
I know. I thought I'd go in there and my fucking heart is like, my heart and blood pressure are way spiked. But But I was able to give plasma, so. Yeah. I'm just tired. You know, I get the, yeah.
I know you look very tired.
I know. I'm always looking that way. It's like I look homeless, period, anymore. I just look homeless, you know? I'm just gonna, you look good. You growing out your beard more or you shaved it?
I'm leaving it like this because I've been getting out in the hustle and I don't want to look too neat.
You've even got yourself a new little pipe. Did Drew give you it?
Nope. No. That belongs to Manny, actually.
Yeah, don't say anything. He won't notice, trust me.
Well,
I have his other pipe. Just don't say anything. I think it was Manny's. When he spilled all that shit all over your carpet and stuff.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
That's been a while back. I didn't know that happened.
This is cute. I like it.
Yeah. Well, he lent it to me, and I think he forgot about it. He got him another one. It's a nice pipe, but the damn thing's about that long. Big
shit.
Pipe. Yeah.
I don't want to say friend, but my neighbor, because he lives next door, he had the bomb-ass fucking weed. Ever. Ever. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. Better than Roger. Better than any of that. And I was sleeping for like 3 days straight. I mean, I was high, but I was sleeping for 3 days straight. That shit was in my system for 3 days straight. I could not. I was sleeping all day long, all night.
Shit.
It wasn't even the meds I'm on. And it smelled like real good pine. And you could taste the pine. I mean, it was, I don't know where the fuck you got it. And I don't know what it's called. But it was some good shit, man.
When James was killed here, a big black fella lived up front.
Yeah.
He had some one time that had that real like an aromatic evergreen odor
smell to it. That's what I love, man.
Oh, I kick you in the butt right now.
Hell yeah.
But
that shit kicked in like, well, I did it with a water bomb. I did it with a bomb, so, and it took me 3 hits because whatever he put in there was just good for 3 hits. And it went, and I was just out for 3 days. That's before the meth.
I was a bit worried about it.
Yeah, I was worried about me with the meth. Never again. I told myself that. It doesn't do shit for me. It doesn't do shit. I don't even get high off the first hit. You know? Like, I can't feel it. I can feel maybe a little bit of, not high, but like just more buoyancy.
It gives me a little bit of a pick-me-up,
It's
but
almost,
I can sleep on it. And other
See, I
people
can't.
that I smoke with, and I fall asleep and I'll wake up, 6 or so hours
no,
later.
I feel like I have fucking
and
leukemia or stomach cancer.
And they're still doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't fuck with it too often. Every once in a while, if somebody's burning some, I'll take a hit. But I've never bought any in my life.
Did Drew want some?
I'm sure he does. Bear's blood, buddy?
No.
Bear necessities. Whew. Oh.
Oh shit, sugar shit. Show him a goddamn no coffee, huh?
What?
No coffee, you know.
There's not enough to make hot. I thought about
I didn't even get any, or else I'd bust it open for you guys.
I forgot to go
No, I
next
didn't
door.
think that. I asked you if someone looked for coffee, but I can go get some in a little bit.
Yeah.
I won't eat for in the morning.
It's already 8:30.
They're open till
11 or something, right?
Yeah.
Ugh, so tired of masks.
I don't know where the fuck my lighter is.
I think Mike might have it. Is it blue?
Nope, it's black, but I think
Oh,
You
man.
had a big flavor, didn't you?
Yeah, they use yours.
Nothing there.
This is probably
Very easy to lose them. Trust
put me
me.
to sleep.
Especially with fucking people around.
Damn, I went to sleep. I passed out. I had 47 subscribers. I wake up, I got 51.
Is it for your business?
My game. It's gonna be my business once they partnership.
I thought so.
Once I hit 100,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll pay me. Like Rick James.
You're hot spotting.
Huh?
Hot spot.
Oh, fuck. What? Yeah, right.
Secret caravans have been bred into secret transport, and no one knows about this meeting.
Would you like some tea?
I have my hard tea.
And you believe there's a plot underway
He just lost my eye.
Your barley,
What's that?
your barley
What
pot.
you got?
You got barley pot.
That's not red wine. It's just red wine for like steaks.
Oh. Oh, she said she got some vodkas in there.
Ketchup and shit. Salt. Iodized salt so I can clean my kettle pot. But I don't have the kettle one. It's back there. I got sugar. But I wanted coconut sugar. I thought I got coconut sugar there one time. But they only have like stevia and sugar. And that's it. So nothing else. City?
You didn't look.
Oh, you gotta catch.
No, I'm so bad. I was a pitcher, not a catcher. I could bat for shit. Nah. I couldn't even bat for shit. I think I was trying to hold this part like a hole, and I never knew where the hole was. I don't know.
We be sitting here talking about all type of old stories with
Holes.
the fucking bowls and
I think
shit.
I saw Black Sail, but I don't know where.
He's fucking addicted.
Yeah.
I told him
Is
it's
it
like
a season one or is it a movie?
series.
Series. So it's not a movie.
It might as well be a fucking movie shit.
Star Wars.
Shit, 17 hours. So I don't know where Star Wars came out, but
Because there's another Star Wars coming out now.
I can't keep
I
up.
forget the name of it, man.
I can't keep up.
They've gotten pretty fucking goofy.
I know.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of fucking TPD out. Or, yeah. TPD out. They have more of a routine now. But Jack, Stud Muffin. The Alaskan Malamute Husky asshole. Fucking asshole. TPD had him in his arms, the sergeant. I got your service dog, man. Brought him to my house at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Stud Muffin! I said Stud Muffin in front of the cop, the sergeant. He was like, we are about to bust down your door, ma'am. I just looked at him like on meth. And that's before it hit my system, thank God. Because I woke up in the morning and holy shit, my eyes.
Shit,
like,
you woke up. Shit, at least you went to sleep.
I didn't even go to sleep. I think I was up. And I had to put myself to sleep. But I might have over-medicated. I don't know. But I got into suicidal ideations.
No.
Real bad. So I couldn't go nowhere. I was good for nothing. Like if I saw someone, they would know I was nuts out. Or coked out or something. I wasn't ever coked. I didn't do heroin or coke or anything. Just meth. A couple mini shots for clothes, right? I don't know. Suck-ins. Might be cash. But you could get something.
What?
I don't know. You tell me, dude. Yep. Are you fuck you hell no?
Yeah.
Seriously?
That's me. The only person that let me use the hotspot when he, well,
He doesn't even have, oh, he has his.
now, but
He doesn't have a
he
password
would always
set up.
like, I set everything up.
Did you?
But what he
What's
was
his password?
was it YO96969?
I'll let you do it.
It's just 2 YOs
Is it
lowercase.
hell no one?
No, it's a Samsung.
Okay.
It's a Y. It's that.
It's an iPhone.
With duct tape
Give
on
it to
it.
someone.
YO
I'll get 100 off it at least.
96969.
Might as well not even get rid of it. I mean,
It said.
it needs to be updated.
Yeah.
Godly.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even beg, did I?
Mm-mm.
I was slick, huh?
Mm.
That's my thug life side. Or my homeless side. My street. Street.
I can breathe.
I do. I can't even come out of my motherfucking house, dude.
I'm pretty much.
I got a heroin meth daddy next to me. You probably know him. His name's Derek. He's black.
Why would I
don't know. He houses homeless. In and out. And I'm like, no, I'm done with this, dude.
We're not that damn tight.
This girl broke his whole fucking window and threw his plates and knocked his wall and like hurt him or something.
Well, it sounds like he's got credentials, but I still don't
He's
know.
stupid. He's fucking Navy. He's just Navy and he's in PTSD.
Yeah.
But he's like coked out. Like marijuana, whatever. Not coked out. But he may, I don't know. He does Viagra just to have sex or just to overpower it. I don't know what the fuck. But he told me that. And I said, I need you to stay home, dude. I said, you and I? Nah. Yeah. No, I stood up for myself, man. I'm not afraid to. If I feel a little bit triggered, the fear is out. Like, I'm not fearful anymore. I have to protect myself. It's fight or flight. So I decided to fight.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But that girl got way off the hook.
It's not triple choice.
Right. She was going to everyone's door and meeting herself and saying, did you steal a sock? Or, you know, or when I first woke up, I was like, who the fuck is this at my door? I saw a girl and I just opened it and I was like, okay, it's a girl. And she's just in my fucking face, right? And I knew that she was possibly saying that Derek's homeless and on drugs, like majorly, coked out. Like, well, the police came, escorted her off the property, told her that she needed to leave. If I was there and I opened the door, I was there. And Maestro even heard it, and I told Maestro to hide. I told him to lay down, right? So he listened, and I took more medication and calmed myself out.
Yeah.
Till like 2 o'clock. That's my, like 4 a.m. to...
Took a little intermission on that plate.
I guess so, man. Like Columbus, you know? No, fuck Columbus. I'm like, nah, fuck.
He killed Daniel.
I'm gonna keep that in. I don't even agree with it. I'm Native American 2 times. Blackfoot and Navajo. But very minimal. Like minimal traces. My dad's dad. You got apples for war.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lady that I met on Facebook, and now she's like a Facebook friend. So friend, I guess, whatever. She's doing exactly what I want to do, or the way I was born to do. Like, it was my spiritual. It was my it's been my guide. Like, even
That's what I feel about this.
in my next life, yeah.
I don't know about no next life.
Well, you
that's
know what I mean.
beyond,
in this
but
life, even.
it's just like, you know, I wanted to do this
Yeah.
when my it was right when my mom passed away 6.5 years ago.
Aw.
Didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
went to do some other shit. Mine's
My
not
mom's
right.
still alive.
You know, mom's not right. I would say,
Yeah.
wait, your mind's not right. So
Right.
situations, you know, occur.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, I can't. Oh fuck, I don't want to be at Mike's all down and down and down. Shit. I think the first day
we're looking forward to riding with you together. You
Oh.
know, it's in Mongolia.
Oh, fun.
Fucking Mongolia on horseback. And knowing like all the Siberian tigers and seeing the eagle or the hawks. It's so cool. That was what I wanted to do, huh? All along, Mikey. Mongolia, South Korea. Not big on South Korea as much as Mongolia. I should always, but I've learned the language now. I could just bust out in Korean, and Mongolian might know what I'm thinking about.
Chamberlain can ignore this. He doesn't know me, he doesn't know Bonnie, he doesn't know Flint. If it turns out that I'm right about this, I look like a fool, but at least his ignorance of the players involved will be self-defense. If you choose to ignore me, it'll be far harder for you to find me.
Mikey, you look stoned.
He always does.
We've been smoking since what?
Last week.
Here, like-
Every waking minute.
Oh, you haven't started it. Can I? No, I don't need saltines. I'll like not even chew them. They'll go like everywhere on the carpet and shit. I'll have a gag reflex.
You're about a can of peaches?
Oh, that sounds good. You can give me some canned peaches.
They're two.
Oh, I meant the whole
three.
thing. No, open me a whole
can.
one.
No, you get it.
I should have gotten me some, man.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking lazy. I have so much to carry.
So what's his partner, murder, mine, and aggravate the affront? You and I have a history. Flint and I have unfinished business of a far more serious sort.
Thanks, Puff Puff, Daddy.
We'll make you jump.
He already did.
Yup. What up?
That was his father, and his father's father.
Oh my god. He looks like he's gonna grab a guitar like John Denver or some shit. Or Willie Nelson. In a Willie Nelson, John Denver way. I just need a hat. You look older with a hat. Yeah.
Oh man, don't give me one of them hats.
It's probably so.
Just don't give me one of them hats that say "Make America Great Again," because then he's gonna look like
Oh my god.
fucking.
That's Trump, okay?
Fucking Trump. I'm
Just
telling
so
you.
know. Don't wear it.
Give him
And
some
don't
fucking
asterisk the MAGA.
some orange spray tan in
MAGA.
a can. They'll give you orange skin and you fucking dress up in a suit and be like you're fucking Donald Trump for Halloween. And then you can be like, hey, only
I'll
you.
be his son.
And then you can be like, hey, only you can prevent forest fire. God bless, and walk away. Put you up for
Sounds
like,
like
yeah. He legalized weed. Shit, he did something good in 1996.
With Snoop Doggy Dogg, right?
Shit, nah, with himself. With himself.
Oh, you should have seen my French face. I was like that inquisitive French Canadian face. I know, I'm keeping this for a little while. I hate that dude. That's Don Brower. He always gets together with a high content female with his high content male. That's his male right there. Wolf. And I was friends with him, but he's so red. He's so red. Like Republican red. Like Trump red.
Yeah. I'm
Kind of
not.
like the white couple that came out with fucking machetes and shit.
I'm not a rep.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I've been
You didn't see that in the
on
news?
this.
I don't watch the news.
You're gonna have to show him it.
I
I
don't
forget
watch the news.
when it was or what.
One thing I don't watch is something that's gonna get your mind to
partners.
brainwash you.
They were a wife and a husband, and he had a big belly, and his pants were like way up to his neck. Stupid man. This looks like Timber as a puppy.
Thank you for that mental image.
Yep.
I didn't want to see the image either. I got it. Big belly, shirt to his knees. I mean, shirt to his fucking neck.
Ho. In Oregon, or Washington, one of those states where there's ice caps and shit. People live up there. There was a house or something where some reindeer or elk just gathered like 60 of them to be fed. There was like a herd of 60 fucking elk at their house. At their fucking house,
well,
man.
Yeah, you live bordering the
Oh my
wilderness.
god.
Yeah, it can happen for sure.
It was kind of in the town area.
That'd be way cool.
Well, West Virginia-ish.
I think it'd be cool.
Like stuck in the mountain or in the hills, and then there are hills.
Well, I've read an article.
then-
There's a little town I was in program up there 4 different times. It's called Hot Springs in South Dakota, and they have